Welcome everybody to another video of Ancient Greece Reloaded. Today we will talk about the famous Charybdis, the drowner of vessels and opposite of Scylla. By the way, if you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so as to stay tuned for upcoming videos. The daughter of Poseidon and Gaia, Charybdis is a huge bladder of a creature whose face is all mouth and whose arms and legs are flippers. She swallows huge amounts of water 3 times a day before belching it back out again, creating large whirlpools capable of sinking large ships. The sea monster Charybdis was believed to live under a small rock on one side of a narrow channel. Opposite here was Scylla, another sea monster that lived inside a much larger rock. The sides of the strait were within an arrow shot of each other, and sailors attempting to avoid one of them would come in reach of the other. Between Scylla and Charybdis, those means to having to choose between 2 dangers, either of which brings harm. 3 times a day Charybdis swallowed a huge amount of water before belching it back out again, creating large whirlpools capable of dragging a ship underwater. In some variations of the story, Charybdis was simply a large whirlpool instead of a sea monster. A later myth makes Charybdis the daughter of Poseidon and Gaia and living as a loyal servant to Poseidon. She aided him in his feud with Zeus and as such helped him engulf lands and islands in water. Zeus, angry for the land she stole from him, cursed her into a hideous bladder of a monster, with flippers for arms and legs and an uncontrollable thirst for the sea. As such, she drank the water from the sea 3 times a day to quench it, which created whirlpools. She lingered on a rock with Scylla facing her directly on another rock, making a strait. The theoretical size of Charybdis remains unknown, yet in order to consume Greek ships the whirlpool can be estimated at about to be 23 meters across. Charybdis has been associated with the Strait of Messina, off the coast of Sicily and opposite a rock on the mainland identified with Scylla. Were Charybdis to be located in the Strait of Messina, it would in fact have the size to accommodate the whirlpool. A whirlpool does exist there, caused by currents meeting, but it is dangerous only to small craft in extreme conditions. In the Odyssey, Odysseus faced both Charybdis and Scylla while rowing through a narrow channel. He ordered his men to avoid Charybdis, thus forcing them to pass near Scylla, which resulted in the deaths of 6 of his men. Later, stranded on a raft, Odysseus was swept back through the strait and passed near Charybdis. His raft was sucked into her maw, but he survived by clinging to a fig tree growing on a rock over her lair. On the next outflow of water, when his raft was expelled, Odysseus recovered it and paddled away safely. Jason and the Argonauts. The Argonauts were able to avoid both dangers because Hera ordered their Nereid nymph Thetis, Achilles' mother, to guide them through the perilous passage. The Aeneid. In the Aeneid, the Trojans were warned by Helenos of Scylla and Charybdis and are advised to avoid them by sailing around Hyginus Point, Cape Passero, rather than risk the strait. Later, however, they find themselves passing Etna and have to row for their lives to escape Charybdis. Finally, Aristotle mentions in his Meteorologica that Aesop once teased a ferryman by telling him a myth concerning Charybdis. With one gulp of the sea, she brought the mountains to view. Islands appeared after the next. The third is yet to come and will dry the sea altogether, thus depriving the ferryman of his livelihood. Between Scylla and Charybdis, the myth and the proverb. Scylla and Charybdis were mythical sea monsters noted by Homer. Greek mythology cited them on opposite sides of the Strait of Messina between Sicily and the Italian mainland. Scylla was rationalized as a rock shoal, described as a 6-headed sea monster on the Italian side of the strait, and Charybdis was a whirlpool off the coast of Sicily. They were regarded as a sea hazard located close enough to each other that they posed an inescapable threat to passing sailors. Avoiding Charybdis meant passing too close to Scylla and vice versa. According to Homer, Odysseus was forced to choose which monster to confront while passing through the strait. He opted to pass by Scylla and lose only a few sailors rather than risk the loss of his entire ship in the whirlpool. Because of such stories, having to navigate between the 2 hazards eventually entered idiomatic use. Another equivalent English seafaring phrase is between a rock and a hard place. The Latin line incided in Scyllam cupiens vitare Charybdim, he runs on Scylla wishing to avoid Charybdis, had earlier become proverbial, with a meaning much the same as jumping from the frying pan into the fire. Erasmus recorded it as an ancient proverb in his Adagia, although the earliest known instance is in the Alexandrese, a 12th century Latin epic poet by Walter of Chatillon. Let us finish with the following saying. A wrong word can turn your whole life upside down. Menander. That being said, remember guys to hit the like button and to subscribe to our channel, it would help us a lot. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for upcoming videos.